So you have measured out
4 cups of flour
in each bowl.
Each bowl. I am now doing 1 teaspoon of salt, again, into each bowl, because these are using the same base recipe. And then we're adding different things. Baking soda for
Soda bread.
Soda bread is distinct for using exactly one thing to cause it to rise. Guess what it is? It also means that it bakes much faster than a yeast bread, because in fact, you don't need to let it sit, you don't need to let it proof, you don't need to let it rise, you just need to get it in the oven. The very traditional recipe has a total of 1 additional ingredient.
Buttermilk.
Buttermilk. However, to make this a little more interesting, into one of these, we are going to be adding dried cranberries.
And those are not sweetened cranberries. They don't have any grape juice. They're cranberries, and then they have extra cranberry oil in them.
Yeah, the most traditional sweet version of this bread actually calls for raisins and caraway seeds, but we're using dried cranberries instead. Similar idea. I like them better than raisins.
Me too.
And
raisins are humiliated grapes.
Into this, which is going to be our savory version, we are adding herbs from our garden. In this case, we have rosemary and marjoram.
That was my grandma's knife.
I think it likes you a lot better than it likes me.
That was my ritual knife for many years, because
Get the good knife out of the kitchen.
right. Grandma liked German steel for her kitchen knives, whereas I actually prefer Japanese.
And mix, mix, mix. So, we have here our 2 things, and I'm just going to start with this one. You make yourself a well. You start with 1.5 cups of buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk, you can make your own. However, the texture is going to be a little bit different. And I don't actually know how thoroughly homogenized this is, so I'm actually going to be smart and shake it first.
One of the things that shocked me was finding out that most buttermilk that you buy in stores now is actually the made kind of buttermilk. They add an acid to milk. Instead of it being a product of spinning out the cream and separating the milk. So we found a local farm. This isn't their buttermilk, because I couldn't make it out there this week, that sells the original kind of buttermilk, and it is different.
Yeah, I'm just going to set that aside and get in there with my hands, I think, because the whisk is not cutting it for this. So you can see, if you come in here, that this has not completely come together. I've still got some flour in the bottom, and this is a very dry dough already, so I'm going to add just a splash more buttermilk to the whole thing, and I'm sort of eyeballing the additional ratio based on how much did I need for the flour I already had, and how much didn't incorporate. And oh yeah, look at that.
Now it's dough, just like that.
Just an additional tablespoon splashed in there. We've got our first bread dough. So we now have our 2 balls of dough. Next up, we get them ready for the oven. This is me just making sure that my baking dishes are fully oiled. If you are using a well-seasoned cast iron, you can skip this step. If you are not sure how well-seasoned your cast iron is, then you should consider re-seasoning it. Guilty. And you should also go ahead and oil that. Next up, we take our dough ball, savory bread dough, and you really only need to knead it 1 or 2 times
Into the preferred shape.
preferred shape, which in this case is just sort of a nice round loaf, just like that. And then you take a very sharp knife and you carve an X into the top.
That is my very sharp paring knife.
Yes.
That one took a non-trivial chunk out of me at one point.
And exact same deal for this. It's the same recipe, it's the same bread, it's just got slightly different mix-ins. So we knead it a couple of times to make sure the dough is fully combined and that it's in the nice round shape that we want. You can go as far out as the edge of the pan if you want to, depending on your size of cast iron and how much of this you made. If you doubled the recipe and you're making a giant loaf, get a bigger cast iron. In this case, we're actually doing one extra step.
Sugar.
We are going to be taking a light dusting of sugar on top, and I do mean that. You don't want much.
You don't want it to burn.
Just like that.
Do you ever think about how our ancestors would be looking at us with all these spices in our...
Right, we live very, very well.
Yes. Because, I mean, this holiday is all about, at least for me, not for everyone, don't want to speak for everyone, the ancestors coming to visit. And
we are surrounded by books. We are in a warm shelter. We have spices from all over the world that we are able to cook with. Easy access to sugar.
right.
Coffee, tea. These are luxuries that we just have. We have many garments made from wool and silk. And so by that standard, we live very well.
We live incredibly well. Like we are making 2 loaves of bread just for our family.
Now, into the oven. We have our oven preheated to 425 degrees. We have our bread on baking dishes. And it just goes in. Close the door, set a timer for 40 minutes, and leave it alone.
Right, don't open
Don't
the oven.
open the oven. Too much heat will escape. It will end up messing with your baking process. Just leave it alone, come back and check on it at 40 minutes, or if you smell it starting to burn.
Those are beautiful, Ian.
We have Irish soda bread, savory version. And Irish soda bread, sweet version. You can actually see just a little bit of sugar glimmering on that one.
Oh
Forming
my gosh.
A little sugar crust.
Yeah, I cannot wait to eat this. He is not.
Okay.
He is not on camera.
Okay. About to say you might want to switch chairs.
Oh, did you decide you want to be on camera? Okay, now you're on camera. Does he inside of the bun look better than the outside? Yes. Would you like me to cut some? Yeah, can you cut the crust off? Yes.
Are we rolling?
Yes.
Yee!
Want me
To
to do it?
future mama, when you're editing this video, please take a break if you do not feel well. Eat, drink, maybe even sleep. Take a shower, take a bath. Don't harm yourself for the lovingness
The inside is nice and
of the
fluffy.
YouTubers.
See? Give that a try.
No, not really bad.
Herbs.
You like the rosemary bread that Ian makes. This is just a different kind of rosemary bread. It's almost like a cake. What do you think?
Bread.
Yeah? You want a plate for that?